I found the Wattpad link by accident. It was one of those sleepy Sunday mornings where the coffee hits slower than usual, and you scroll your phone like it owes you answers. I wasn't looking for anything, really. Just clearing out email junk when I noticed a promotional link from a spam folder titled, New Romance Drama, Bound by Honor, Torn by Blood. Clickbait title. Sounds like a mafia fanfic and a hormonal fever dream. I was going to delete it. I should have deleted it. But fate, or whatever cosmic force handles digital tragedies, had other plans. The author's name caught my eye, Ash the author. Ash. As in Ashley, my wife. Now, most husbands would shrug it off. Maybe even be proud, my wife writes romance, how adorable. But Ashley? She wasn't a writer. At least, not that I knew of. She once got a nosebleed filling out a birthday card. So yeah, this was strange. Curious, I clicked. It opened with a dedication. To the one who truly sees me. To the one who always saw me. My muse. My twin flame. My forbidden soulmate. Thank you for showing me the difference between being chosen and being cherished. A and R. Now, I may not have written vows on fancy stationery, but I'm pretty sure my name doesn't start with an R. So, I read on. Chapter after chapter. The story unfolded like a slow-motion car crash. A woman named Anna, who feels trapped in a cold, distant marriage, finds emotional, and eventually spiritual, solace in the arms of her husband's brother, Ryan. Yes, Ryan. Same name. Same backstory. Same stupid tattoo behind the ear he got on a dare. The kind of detail that only two people would know, the brother, and the woman sleeping beside me every night. I didn't stop reading. I couldn't. Because somehow, the more fictional it got, the more real it became. She wasn't writing fiction. She was writing history. Our history. My brother. My wife. A story that I hadn't been given a script for. Now, you'd think a man would storm into the room, throw his phone on the table and say, explain this literary betrayal. I didn't. Instead, I watched her. That night, she sat on the couch, knees tucked under a blanket, eyes glued to her phone. She laughed once, one of those real laughs, the kind she used to give me. Then she typed something, paused, deleted it, and typed again. I stared at her like a stranger. A familiar silhouette filled with secrets. Hey, I said. She jumped slightly, not because I startled her, but because she was somewhere else. Somewhere I clearly wasn't invited. Hey, she replied, too casual. You good? I nodded. Yeah, just thinking. About. I paused. What does it feel like to be truly seen? That got her attention. She blinked at me. What? I repeated it. Just wondering what it feels like. You know, to be chosen. To be cherished. Ashley narrowed her eyes, like she was scanning my words for barbed wire. Logan, are you okay? Funny question. I was upright, heart beating, technically inhaling oxygen. So yes, I was okay. But I wasn't. I gave her a tight smile and kissed her on the head. Yeah, just in a weird mood. Gonna go shower. The moment the water hit my back, I started laughing. Not the joyful kind, the kind you do when you realize life handed you a script, and you're playing the fool. You see, Ashley was writing a chaptered confession, in a genre wrapped up like candy, romance. And the world was out there, reading our tragedy in installments, hitting like, on every moment I'd been erased. I didn't confront her that night. I did something better. I created a Wattpad account. I started leaving comments. Nothing obvious. Just things like, wow, Ryan seems really familiar. Eyes. Poor husband. Wonder if he ever finds out. Plot twist. Someone's watching. I wanted to see if she'd flinch. She didn't. She even replied once. He's not watching. He never really did. That one stung. Mostly because, yeah, for a while, maybe I hadn't. But I was watching now. And I was going to read every single chapter of her so-called fiction until I got to the part that ripped me in half. And I'd know it when I saw it. Because the villain in her story? That was me. I was halfway through chapter 23 when it happened. The chapter started with Anna, Ashley's literary self-insert, attending a family barbecue. The description was oddly specific. Too specific. Potato salad from Costco. Dad's overcooked ribs. A poorly tuned guitar someone brought but no one could play. That barbecue happened last summer. I know because I was there. I grilled the ribs. My dad made the potato salad, and Ryan, my brother, tried to serenade Ashley with an off-key rendition of Stand By Me that made my niece cry. But the story didn't end like our barbecue. No, in her version, Anna sneaks away during cleanup, hides behind the garage, and meets Ryan for a moment of truth. She described it like a movie scene. His hand brushed a streak of barbecue sauce from her lip, his thumb lingering a second too long. Her breath caught, not from surprise, but from finally feeling home. Now I may not have the best memory, but I remember one thing crystal clear from that day. My wife disappeared for 15 minutes after dinner. Said she went to get her sunglasses from the car. Guess I should have checked which car. I finished the chapter and just stared at the screen, mouth dry, heart sinking into something cold. There was no denying it now. She didn't even change his name. Ryan. My actual brother. It wasn't metaphor anymore. It wasn't fiction. It was confession. The next morning, I saw him. Ryan dropped by our place like nothing had changed. Carried in a bag of donuts. Sat on my couch. Wore my hoodie, the one he borrowed a month ago and forgot to return. He laughed with Ashley. A little too easy. A little too comfortable. You guys still doing Sunday brunch? He asked, licking glaze off his thumb. Ashley smiled. Of course. Of course. I looked between the two of them, something inside me quietly folding into itself. Then I asked, casually, Hey Ash, that story you're writing. What's it called again? Ashley blinked. What story? The one online. With Anna. And Ryan. Her face froze. Just for a breath. Just for a heartbeat. Ryan, who had been scrolling his phone, slowly looked up. I smiled. Wide. Calm. Unflinching. Ashley swallowed. It's just something silly. I was bored. It's nothing. Oh, it's definitely something, I said, leaning back in my chair. Reads like real life. Suspiciously so. Ryan stood up. All right, man. I'm gonna head out, El. No need to rush, I said, still smiling. You already left your fingerprints all over the plot. He hesitated at the door. It's fiction, Logan. Sure. I nodded. And this is just brunch. He left without finishing his donut. Ashley didn't speak. Didn't defend. Just stared at me with the look of someone who suddenly realized the test was open book, and she still failed. That was the moment I knew. Not just that they'd betrayed me, but that they never thought I'd figure it out. After they left, I didn't scream. Didn't flip tables. Didn't start throwing plates like a B-movie husband in a dramatic meltdown. I just sat there, alone in the kitchen, sipping coffee that had long gone cold, bitter, stale, perfect for the moment. That was the day the grief died and strategy took its place. Because here's the thing no one tells you when your wife cheats on you with your own brother. It's not just betrayal, it's humiliation. And humiliation, for a man like me, doesn't trigger self-pity. It triggers planning. So I made a plan. I wasn't going to confront them again. What was the point? She already looked me in the eye and lied like it was her first language. He already hugged me last Christmas and said, love you, bro, like he didn't have his hand on the knife. No, I needed something smarter. I started by rereading the story. From chapter 1 all the way to 27. Highlighted details. Cross-reference dates. Created a timeline. Yep, a literal spreadsheet of betrayal. Spreadsheets, it turns out, are excellent for heartbreak, very little emotion in rows and columns. Then I did something bold. I posted a comment on her latest chapter. Under a fake account, of course, username, plot device 87. Not the most subtle, but clever enough. Anna sure gets around. Poor husband. Hope he gets his revenge. Smiling face with thorns. She deleted it in under 5 minutes, which told me two things. She was reading the comments. She knew I was watching. Good. Let her sweat. But I wasn't just playing mind games. I was building the foundation for what came next. You see, revenge isn't about destruction. That's too easy. Too loud. Real revenge? That's precision. That's leaving someone in a perfectly made bed with the knowledge they ruined it themselves. And I had the blueprint. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone else entirely, the ideal version of Logan. I took Ashley out to dinner. I brought her flowers. I started planning a surprise trip for our anniversary. I kissed her forehead and asked about her day like I hadn't already memorized every lie she was weaving. She softened. Guilt makes people soft. You've been different lately, she said one night. See you. Better. I asked. She nodded slowly. Yeah, like you're really trying again. I smiled and brushed a hand over her hair. Maybe I just realized what I almost lost. She looked down at her lap. Yeah, let that marinate. Meanwhile, I met with a lawyer. A good one. The kind who wears silence like a suit and doesn't blink when you hand over a flash drive labeled Proof of Adultery, chapters 1 to 27. Creative, he said, flipping through printed excerpts. Your wife made your job easy. And my brother made it poetic. We talked strategy, quiet exits, property division, paper trails. I found out something beautiful. Since the affair involved a family member and she basically published a written admission, I had leverage. Legal leverage. Now, some men would use that to burn her down. I didn't want her burned. I wanted her to watch me walk away clean while she scrambled in the ashes. Around week 3, I started laying traps. Not dramatic ones. Subtle. I started leaving my phone unlocked, messages open. Things like, "Ryan, you sure she suspects nothing?" Me, "She thinks we're fine. Keep playing dumb." Of course, Ryan never got those texts. I sent them to myself, changed the contact name. But Ashley saw them. I wanted her to. I left my laptop open on tabs like "therapist in your area" and "signs your spouse is emotionally withdrawing." She was spiraling, and I watched her unravel one stitch at a time. The guilt, the paranoia, the mirror starting to reflect something she didn't like. I still kissed her goodnight. One night, she cracked. We were eating dinner, grilled salmon, her favorite, and she set her fork down gently, like she didn't want to startle the lies off the table. "Logan," she said, voice soft, "do you think people can change?" I didn't look up. "Depends. Are we talking haircut or soul?" She exhaled, shaky. "I've made mistakes." I nodded. "Everyone has." "No," she said. "I mean, big ones." I looked her dead in the eye. Calm. Collected. "I know." She flinched. "Do you?" She whispered. I didn't answer. Let her fill in the blanks. 2 days later, I sent her an email. No subject line. No greeting. Just an attachment. Bound by honor, torn by blood, complete PDF. Underneath it, one sentence. "You wrote the story. I'm just giving it a proper ending." She didn't come home that night. After I sent the email with the full compiled novel, her own serialized confession, I waited. Sat at the kitchen table with the lights low and my phone face down. No music, no TV, just silence and the quiet hum of the fridge trying to keep its cool while everything else thawed out. By midnight, I knew she wasn't coming back that evening, which was fine. Let the guilt ferment a little. The next morning, she was in the kitchen like nothing happened. Making coffee, wearing that old gray hoodie of mine like a trophy she didn't earn. I sat at the island, sipping calmly. No anger, just the patience of a man who'd already packed the parachute. "I read the email," she said, finally. "Oh." I tilted my head. Bit of a long read. Hope the plot twists weren't too predictable. She stared at me. "Why did you save it? Why compile it?" "You made it very easy," I said. "Frankly, I'm just impressed you got to 30 chapters without changing any names. That's not even fiction. That's autobiography with bad grammar." Ashley looked down, then up. "So what now?" It was funny, that question. As if we were still in a relationship. As if we had a now to discuss. I reached under the bar and handed her a manila envelope. Inside, the draft of a separation agreement, our mortgage documents, the printout of the story with highlighted passages, and a short list of items I was taking with me. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it. "You already talked to a lawyer," she said flatly. I nodded. 3 weeks ago. You were acting like we were okay. We weren't. I was just rehearsing my exit." She blinked fast, like trying to blink away water in a sinking boat. "And Ryan?" I gave a half smile. "Let's talk about Ryan. He called me that afternoon." I didn't answer. Then he texted. "We need to talk. Please." She told me everything. I let him sweat for a few hours. Then I replied. "Sure. Meet me at Dad's place. Tomorrow morning. Alone." There's something about using your father's house for a confrontation poetic, like returning to where the roots grew crooked. Next morning, I pulled into the old gravel driveway. Ryan was already there, leaning against the railing like he used to when we were kids, waiting to see if I brought snacks home from school. Only now he looked like a man who'd accidentally pulled the pin from a grenade and realized it wasn't a toy. "Logan," he started. I didn't shake his hand. "Just talk." He took a breath. "It was never meant to happen." "That line's older than both of us," I said. "Try again." He looked away. "It started after your birthday. We were both drunk." She said she felt. "Don't," I said sharply. "Don't you dare paint this like some Nicholas Sparks sob story. You didn't trip and fall into betrayal. You climbed in with both hands." Ryan looked at me, and for the first time since all this started, he looked ashamed. "Good. You always had everything," he muttered. "You were the golden boy. I was just the shadow." I stared at him. "You think this was about me?" I laughed, once, cold and bitter. "You slept with my wife to get even for being my brother?" I didn't mean to hurt you, he said. Well, I shrugged. Intent doesn't clean the blood off a crime scene, does it? He stood there, small now, like the truth had taken his bones apart piece by piece. I handed him an envelope. What's this? He asked. Page 27, I said. Your big scene. The one where you tell Anna she deserves to be happy, even if it means breaking hearts. He opened it. It was a printout of that exact passage, highlighted in red. At the bottom, a sticky note in my handwriting. Congratulations. You're a fictional character in the world's saddest romance. Logan, come on. I stopped him with a look. This isn't a fight, Ryan. You're not worth the effort. I'm not here to hit you, yell at you, or throw punches like some low-rent soap opera. I'm here to tell you one thing, and I need you to really hear it. He nodded slowly. You're nothing now. Not to me. Not to our family. Not even to her, once this falls apart, and it will, because the only thing you two share is treason and delusion. He opened his mouth, closed it, swallowed. Goodbye, Ryan. And just like that, I walked away. Didn't look back. Didn't flinch when I heard him whisper, I'm sorry. I just kept walking. Because real revenge isn't noise. It's absence. That night, Ashley came home to a half-empty closet and a clean kitchen counter. I left the house, the keys, the ring, all of it behind, along with a note taped to the fridge. Asterisk, you don't have to explain yourself anymore. I already read the whole story. The plot was weak. The characters were dishonest. In the ending, asterisk. I rewrote it myself. Logan asterisk, if there's a moment where a man starts to truly move on, it's not when he packs the bags. It's not even when he signs the papers. It's when he realizes he's no longer trying to get her back. He's trying to get himself back. And that's where I was, somewhere between grief's grave and a new life, holding the pen to rewrite the ending she thought she controlled. You see, Ashley wasn't just unfaithful. She was loud about it. Wattpad chapters, cryptic tweets, TikToks with sad songs and vague captions like, some people never see the real you. She wasn't hiding. She was curating. So I decided to make one post of my own. It was a Thursday night when I uploaded it. A plain video. Black screen. Voice only. My voice. Just me reading her Wattpad story. Word for word. Except with commentary. A director's cut, if you will. Chapter 8, I said, voice steady. This is where Ryan, also known as my brother, kisses Anna behind the staircase during a family cookout. Fun fact, this event took place at my father's house last June. She told me she was getting sunscreen from the car. Click. Chapter 15. Anna confesses she's tired of being a ghost in her own marriage. Direct quote from a couple's therapy session Ashley insisted we try, the same week this chapter went live. Makes you wonder if I paid the copay for her inspiration. Click. Chapter 22. The line reads, Ryan's hands felt like safety, like truth. Just for context, those hands also borrowed $5,000 from me 2 years ago and never paid it back. Truly poetic. I uploaded it under an anonymous handle, The Ghost Husband, and posted it in the same romance fiction category where she'd thrived. Did I add tags like hashtag betrayal, hashtag real story, and hashtag plot twist? Yes. Yes, I did. By morning, it had 4,000 views. By the weekend, over 70,000. The comments section became my favorite coffee break. This voice is giving calm fury, and I love it. Bro, you're telling me this is a real story? She published her confession and thought no one would notice? Can't wait for chapter 30, alimony and regret. One user even commented, this is like if Gone Girl had a podcast. And that's when the thought hit me. Why stop with one video? So I made more. Episode 2, Narrating Infidelity, How I Found My Wife's Affair on Wattpad. Episode 3, Sleeping with the Author, A Brother's Contribution to Fiction. Each one read calmly. No name calling. No rage. Just timestamps, receipts, and snark. It wasn't revenge porn. It was revenge publishing. And soon, people were asking for interviews. Anonymous, of course, voice altered. I declined. This wasn't about fame. This was about the story. She made me the villain in hers. So I became the narrator in mine. Ashley found out on a Monday. She showed up at the apartment I was renting, wearing sunglasses like she was being hunted by paparazzi. You need to take it down, she said, voice sharp. I looked at her like I was surprised to see her alive. Take what down? Your podcast. Your stupid voiceovers. People are messaging me. Ah, I nodded. So now it's real. You're humiliating me. I raised an eyebrow. And here I was thinking I was just reading from a book. Your book. She crossed her arms, tight. You're turning people against me. No, I said. You did that when you put our marriage into a dramatized cheat sheet and cast me as the emotionally vacant husband. I'm just reading lines you wrote. She stared at me. For a second, she looked like she wanted to cry. But instead, she said the most predictable line possible. I didn't think you'd ever find it. Of course she didn't. They never think the quiet ones are paying attention. That's how they get away with so much. Until we speak. Ryan tried to call me again. I didn't answer. He sent a text instead. You're ruining her life. You got what you wanted. Isn't that enough? I read it while waiting in line at a sandwich shop and laughed so hard the guy behind me asked if I was okay. Let me explain something for the Ryans of the world. When you betray someone and they don't retaliate, it's not forgiveness. It's calculation. And when they finally strike, it won't be with fists. It'll be with something far worse. Audience. A month later, Ashley deactivated her Wattpad account, deleted every story. But it didn't matter. I had the archives, the screenshots, the backups, the voiceovers already uploaded. The audience was there now. Too big to disappear. Too curious to ignore. She'd spent so long writing fiction based on our truth. So I flipped it. And now my fiction? It was nonfiction with a view count. By the time the divorce was finalized, she didn't say a word in court. Didn't contest anything. Maybe she was tired. Maybe she thought the silence might earn back some dignity. Too late. She'd already told the world how the story began. I just made sure they knew how it ended that you'd think, after something like this, the world would slow down. Maybe the air feels heavier, the nights longer, the coffee colder. But here's the truth. Life doesn't pause for your pain. It just keeps rolling, like a movie you're no longer starring in. The podcast episodes faded into internet folklore. My following exploded, mostly people who'd gone through similar betrayals. Some sent messages. Others sent stories. I read them all, like battle scars written in digital ink. I wasn't alone. Not even close. Funny thing, though, in real life, people acted like nothing had happened. Friends didn't call. Family stayed polite. Even my mother, God bless her southern denial, offered me pie instead of empathy. You always liked cherry, she said. And I don't want to pick sides. I didn't need sides. I needed space. So I moved. Not out of spite. Out of sanity. New apartment, new town. Got a dog named Booker, half lab, half couch potato. He didn't lie, didn't cheat, didn't post cryptic breakup quotes online. Just wagged his tail and slept like betrayal didn't exist. Smart animal. I stopped checking Ashley's pages. Stopped checking Ryan's socials too. Didn't need to. Whatever version of me they were trying to forget, they couldn't. Because memory isn't kind to people who bury their guilt. It has a way of resurfacing every quiet night, every failed replacement. And I didn't need revenge anymore. Because nothing haunts a traitor like someone who heals without them. 3 months after my last episode, I got an email from a small publisher. Subject line: let's turn pain into pages. At first, I thought it was a scam. Some bot farm in Bangladesh trying to sell me a Ghostrian guide to masculinity or overpriced protein powder. But no, it was legit. They'd heard the story, wanted to turn it into a memoir. Not a tabloid expose. A real book. Something raw, honest, quiet. I said yes. Not for the money. I didn't care about that. But because writing it felt like finishing something. Like closing a drawer that had been stuck open for too long. The title? Bound by Honor, Torn by Blood. The real story behind the fiction. Yeah, I kept her title. Poetic Justice. A full circle with better punctuation. The book hit shelves 6 months later. Modest run. No bestseller sticker. But enough people read it. Enough to make her name feel small. Not ruined. Just irrelevant. The only review I cared about? A message from an anonymous reader. Your story made me leave a man who had me convinced I was the problem. Thank you. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just my pain anymore. It was permission for others to walk out of burning houses they thought they had to live in. It arrived 2 years after the divorce. A plain envelope. No return address. Just my name, written in handwriting I hadn't seen since Christmas cards from our parents stopped being joint affairs. Inside, one sheet of paper. No greeting. No apology. Just this. I see now that everything I touched fell apart. You were the one constant in my life, and I chose to ruin it. Not because you deserved it, but because I couldn't stand being in your shadow. I was weak. I still am. If I could take it back, I would. But I know that's not how life works. I hope, in some distant future, you forget what I did. Not for me. But for you, you deserved better than both of us. I folded the letter once. Didn't cry. Didn't smile. Just stared at it. Then I fed it into the shredder. Not out of rage, but because forgiveness isn't always about telling someone they're okay. Sometimes, it's just deciding you're done carrying it. People think revenge is some fiery thing. Loud. Explosive. But the best kind? Is subtle. It's living well. Silently. Without needing them to know. Now I wake up in a quiet apartment with Booker at my feet and fresh coffee brewing. I write full-time now, essays, stories, the occasional podcast episode. Not about her. Not anymore. I've said all I needed to say. Sometimes people ask if I ever fell in love again. I always answer the same way. I did. With peace. Because peace doesn't lie. Peace doesn't rewrite history. Peace doesn't beg you to stay after it's burned your home down and scribbled a poem in the ashes. It just sits beside you in silence and lets you breathe. And in a world that once tried to make me feel small, forgotten, and discarded. That silence? Sounds like victory. The end.